Hello and welcome back to the When You're Podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're watching World War Z. So, I recently talked about the zombie apocalypse, and then I was thinking, what better film to watch than World War Z? You know, it's only logical. It makes the most sense. It makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying? So, long story short, this movie, I think I remember watching this movie. I don't know if it was in theaters or if it was like it came out on they would sell you could rent it on Redbox, and I used to always, I mean, not always. I just remember there was a time in my life where before I had like a Netflix subscription or there was any kind of streaming service, the best thing for me to do was Redbox. You could go to Redbox, you get a movie that you haven't seen or that you like didn't have time or really want to see, and then that would be your way of quote unquote to watch the movie. And then obviously Netflix came out and all the other big streaming services and kind of, got rid of that idea. So anyways, this movie begins like any, I guess this is kind of, they try to make it like a family film, but it's more so of like a little bit of a hassle maybe. I don't know. It's always a thing where it's like, oh, the family needs to be protected and saved, and it's never like, they never contribute anything. They don't, they're very, I guess I'm being a little harsh. It's just like, they're a family, they're trying to be safe, I get it. The world's going crazy, I get it. So, we start off by meeting the fam. We start by meeting the family. We get a look into their home life, what they're really doing. And it doesn't feel like they're really doing anything. It's just kind of like I don't know if it's a weekend or if it's just like they're not workers or I honestly have no idea. Although I do think it's a school day because the kids have what's it called? At the beginning they kind of are talking like, hey, you got to get ready for something. I would assume it's school, but maybe I'm wrong. And I think they started out in New York because they keep on talking about all of them when like the outbreak happened and they got to like other stuff. They kind of talked about Newark. I don't know if that's obviously, I think that's New Jersey, but I'm trying to think here. All right, whatever. Forget what I'm talking about, right? We meet the fam, and we kind of get like a wholesome family moment. We kind of see his wife, his two daughters. We see that he has like this beautiful, loving family who care about him, and he makes them pancakes, and they're kind of just like a regular, happy-go-lucky American family, you know what I'm saying? And they go into the city, and things are going great. A little bit of traffic, nobody's mad about that. Everybody runs into some traffic, but then it becomes another deal when the outbreak happens, and that's when all the zombies start attacking. They start going crazy on that. You know what I'm saying? They start going. I really think that these zombies they're nuts. They're bashing their head through the windows, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, like jumping head first into everything. So now the whole thing is transitioned. It's no longer, all right, we're just going for a quick family trip to New York or wherever. Now we're going, now it's time for me to protect my family. This is the moment. I gotta protect them and make sure none of them get hurt or bitten, and we gotta, I just gotta get them somewhere safe, and I have to hold on tight to them, So he calls, I guess, his former boss. He quit his job, as one does. And he calls his boss up and he's like, hey, so listen, man, we're in a bit of a trouble here. And he's like, hey, man, I can get you out of there. Just tell me your location. And he's like, we're here in I think he was in like Newark, or he's in New Jersey, I'm pretty sure. And he's telling his boss that like, we're going to be in some sort of apartment complex If you can get on top of the roof, that'd be really great. And so he's like, I can get there, but I won't be able to get there until sunrise. And he's like, all right, sunrise, we can do that. So then, now they have to survive the night. So now it's about, how can I save my family? And eventually they get up. They have to go through a bunch of ordeals. His daughter has asthma, so they needed to get her medication from the pharmacy, and they run into some danger there. And then after that, they have to go to the apartment complex. And in the apartment complex, there are some zombies in there as well. So they have to fight their way through. They get to the apartment complex, and his daughter, like, runs off, and she's screaming at the door, like, let us in, let us in. And it's another family, and they let them in. Phew! You know? There's some a Hispanic family. I don't want to classify them as Mexican or any kind of ethnicity, I guess, or race. But long story short, they let them in, and they were like, phew, we made it. Thank goodness. Now all they have to do is survive the night, or just lay low, relax, and then wait till the morning to get out and face whatever dangers may come. And they offer them sanctuary as well. They say, hey, you guys can definitely come with us. You know what I mean? It's better than staying here. And he has a great line. Brad Pitt has a great line in the movie. It's like, movement is life. As long as you keep on moving, it means that you're going to find a way to survive. You know what I'm saying? You stay still, chances of you dying are pretty likely. Which, I don't know. I think given their current situation, they're doing all right. But I also think that Brad Pitt has a point. Is like, they're offering sanctuary to you and your family. You should try to take it, But they decide to stay. Anyways, they have to get out and they have to go up to the roof. They have to light up some flares, and that'll indicate that that's where they are. And that's happening, and it just feels like they're getting overwhelmed by the zombies. Brad Pitt has to save his family. His wife and kids get up to the roof. Brad Pitt's all on his own. He's about to die. He can't make it. And then the family that let him in have like a little boy, a little son. His name's Thomas? Tomas, maybe, is like the right pronunciation of his name. And he kills the zombie and saves Brad Pitt. And the boy is looking at Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt's looking at him. And they're kind of like, oh, snap, go to work, son. And it kind of implies that his family died. But he survived, and he saved Brad Pitt. They make it out. And Brad Pitt's holding the door closed. And as his family gets onto the helicopter and little Thomas gets up on there, Brad Pitt's running for his life. And he jumps onto the helicopter and they make it out. And they go to like a Navy ship where it's like, where you can just survive. I don't know. They just make it seem like it's just a Navy ship in the middle of the ocean. And that's where everybody's like protected and safe. And they bring all the officers' families to the base or to that ship, and because of that, that's how a lot of them protect what they have, because I guess zombies can't swim, am I right? At least not that far out. So now he has to take on this mission of figuring out a cure to the zombies, to the outbreak. And Brad Pitt's like, are you nuts? Are you out of your mind? We just made it out of there. I'm not going back out there to risk my life. He's like, listen, dude, I can't guarantee you or your family's safety here if you don't work for us. Like, there's no room for anybody that's non-working or like non-essential. You have to do something. Otherwise, I can't sell it to the guys upstairs or the leaders to keep you here. I just can't. And so Brad Pitt's like, okay, I got to go on this mission now and find a potential cure with this doctor who's younger than me and, doesn't know what he's doing. So the plan is they're going to go to Korea, which is where they think that the outbreak may have started or may have been caused. And they start in Korea because they got an email talking about the word zombie. And that's what they think they're dealing with now. So now it's up to figure out, okay, this is where it all started. This is where it originated. And then we can figure it out from there. And the doctor kind of tells Brad Pitt that like there are clues in the world that can like help us out. You know what I'm saying? The greatest strength, the greatest weakness in this, in this virus is the great strength of this virus is also its greatest weakness, or something like that, along those lines. It's just kind of saying that like what we think is like something so powerful, so great for them, for the zombies, is actually a weakness in disguise. So eventually they make it to Korea, and within 2 minutes, the guy kills himself. The doctor just dies. He like shoots himself in the head, or he falls and he trips. He gets shot. He dies, right? And he's the guy who's supposed to figure it all out. He's the guy who's supposed to solve it all. So instead, now Brad Pitt has to make it out. He has to survive in Korea, all right, stay the night, figure out if he can piece together any clues, and then after that, he has to get back home. So he goes to Korea, and there he kind of finds out some information from a CIA hold. They kind of have him under arrest. He's there, and they kind of tell him like what's been going on. He tells them there is one place where they are completely secure and they know what's going on, and it was Israel. So Brad Pitt's like, okay, I guess Israel's next. They must know something because they built these giant walls to keep the zombies out. They locked down their country, keeping all people. I mean, not all people. I'm sorry. They just have it really strong and fortified to protect against the zombies. Okay. So he failed, and he's like, all right, I gotta go to this new location and see if they have a cure, see if they know what they're dealing with here. And so the next location is Israel. Now, they're not heartless over there, okay? They're not just like closing off the whole city or the whole place. They're letting people in, but they have to be, people, not zombies. So then what ends up happening is the people are rejoicing. They're like, we made it. We found sanctuary. We can live here. You know what I'm saying? We're alive. And everybody's like clapping and celebrating. And Brad Pitt's like, they're being too loud. Are you out of your mind? They're going to attract the zombies. That's what gets them closer. And everybody's like still clapping and cheering. They're like, yay, yay, we made it. We made it. We did it. We did it. We're here. We're here. We're safe. And then the zombies like pile up in like this gigantic dog pile, and they climb over the wall and they make it in. So it was like, what idiots, you know what I mean? It's like it should be so quiet, dead quiet. But anyways, Brad Pitt is now in Israel as it's getting invaded, and he's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta figure a way out of this place. So he makes it out. Well, hold on. Let me go through the escape. It's like a whole maze out there, okay? He has to go like up, then down, then through these walls and tunnels and all these different places. And there's this Israeli soldier who is a woman who protects him, and he kind of saves her life. She gets bitten on the hand, and Brad Pitt's like, I gotta chop that off. So he chops off her hand, and she's like, are you crazy? And he's waiting for like for her to turn, see if it would happen, if it would work. And she doesn't turn. She's like, what the? She's alive. She's okay. And Brad Pitt's like, all right, you're going to be just fine, okay? Let's get you out of here. And eventually they, the plane that they arrived in, like the military plane, left without them. So they get onto like this commercial plane where it's like that they would usually have in an airport. You know, they make it onto there, and Brad Pitt's like, whew, man, that was a close one. And he tends to the girl's wound, and now they try to like figure out their next step. And Brad Pitt's like thinking to himself, of all the things that he's seen, he figures out that it takes, after a bite, he figures out that it takes 12 seconds for a person to turn, okay? You have to stay away from getting bitten at all right? Because that's what makes you turn. That's what forces you to become a zombie. It's just like one bite is all it takes. You can cut off the limb so that way, you don't turn into them. And then finally, there's a theory, all right, or there's a guess that the zombies avoid sick people, all right, because he saw 2 people in Israel get avoided. There was an old man, right? He was bald, so it could be that the old man was just old, okay? But then he saw a little boy, okay, with his head shaved. I guess that's to imply that he has some sort of cancer, maybe. And then he's like hiding with his head in his hands on the ground, and the zombies are avoiding him like crazy. They're not even going near him or touching him. They're just like straight up avoiding him. They see him, but they're not attacking him. So they run right past him. So Brad Pitt gets the brilliant idea of calling his superiors and being like, hey, listen, I'm alive. Tell me, where's the nearest, like, drug facility, like, darn, I forget the name of it. WHO, World Health Organization Center, or some sort of like anything where they have like modern medicine. Not like a hospital. It's just like it needs to be a drug facility where it's like they might have diseases and cures and stuff like that. So he's just like, where's the nearest one? And they told him, okay. So he goes up to the pilots and they tell him, listen, we need you to get him here because that's where he needs to be, and blah, 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 blah. So now they head towards the nearest World Health Organization Center, and it's there that Brad Pitt has an idea of what could kind of cure all of this. But then guess what? The plane crashes. The plane goes into a full crash mode. Somebody there becomes a zombie. However, they become it, right? The plane crashes. And Brad Pitt survives because he has his seatbelt on. But he also survives because he has the brilliant idea to throw a grenade and blow up part of the ship, right? The plane's already going down. But he blows up part of the ship so that way all of the zombies get sucked out of the plane. They crash land. Now, in reality, he would die, but because it's the movie, I'll let it slide. He doesn't get away unscathed, unhurt. He gets like something stuck through him. And then the Israeli soldier saves him, and then they get to the World Health Organization. Just the 2 of them, all right, on foot. And there they save Brad Pitt, they treat him, and they're kind of like, who are you? Tell us who you are. What do you want? And he's just like, hey, just call the phone. They'll tell you who I am, and they'll figure it out. And so then they call him, and Brad Pitt does this, the dialogue or the way that it's written, he says this nice word that I really like. Instead of being like, just tell them who I am, If it were me, I'd probably be like a little bit like, guys, I'm on your side here. Call my boss. He'll tell you who I am, and everything will be okay. Instead, he kind of says, like, they call his boss. They put him on, like, speaker, I guess. He's like, or they hand him the phone. He's like, listen, man, I'm here with some I'm here with some people who don't know who I am. They're going to need some bona fides to trust me to help me out here. And I like that word, bona fides. I don't know why. I thought it was a really... The way he used it, the way it was phrased, I just like that dialogue, that quick, like, they're going to need some bona fides. And then he tells them, yeah, he's one of the good guys. He's with us. He's working with the UN. You do what he says and all that jazz. So now they hear Brad's theory. He tells them, do you have any diseases, any drugs, any diseases, anything that's treatable? It's lethal, but it's treatable. There's a cure for it. Like we can We can do that. And they were like, that's not going to work. You know, we tried that. That's an idea we already thought of. And he was like, it's not for the zombies. It's for us. We can give ourselves the disease. We can cure it. And then that way we can cure ourselves and the zombies will avoid us because they don't like sick people. We just have to be, you know, very sick. Okay. So then they go like, that's an interesting theory, Brad. All right. That's an interesting theory. But to test it, we would need the lethal disease that you're talking about is all the way in the B wing, all right? And we're in, I don't know, the A wing, right? You have to get all the way across the zombies to get to there. And then once you get there, we still don't know if your idea will work. So, you know, you're kind of on your own here. What do you think? And then Brad Pitt's like, I'm going in there. We're gonna sneak in, be very quiet, and we're gonna slowly but surely make our way through. And as they're sneaking around, you know, things don't go to plan. He brings the Israeli woman and brings one of the, I don't know, doctors there, and they kind of, the doctor and the Israeli soldier get caught. Well, caught's the wrong word. I guess I mean to say that, like, they get found out and they're getting chased and then they make it back, but Brad Pitt's still left by himself. But he makes it to B-Wing. So he makes it to the spot that he needs to be at, and he's trying to get all of the drugs that he needs, and he's kind of stopped because there's one zombie in the way. And that one zombie could attract all of the others. So he needs to be smart and figure out what to do. And he thinks, okay, I got to inject myself with the disease and see if it works. This is it. This is how it all happens. So he injects himself and he kind of waits it out, you know, because he has to wait for it to get into his system. It can't just be right away. He has to wait a couple minutes. It doesn't say how long he waits, but let's just assume like 15, 20 minutes, okay? He's sitting there, he's waiting, and then finally he's like, all right, time to tell. Here's the moment of truth. He opens the door to the thing, and then finally it sees him, it wants to bite him, but it doesn't. So he kind of just walks right by it. He walks right past it, and he starts moving. He starts grooving. He gets a Pepsi, which was like a shameless plug, you know what I mean? Little moment of like brand sponsorship, you know what I'm saying? And he's just like, he drinks the Pepsi, and then he like messes with the machine so that way all of the Pepsi start coming out all at once, and it attracts the noise of the zombies and it pulls them away from his exit where he can like escape from. And he walks just right by all the zombies. They avoid him, and he's just walking right by them, and it's like a really cool moment, and it's just like, yeah, that's right. My idea, my theory worked. I'm getting out of here. And that was a pretty cool scene, I won't lie. And then finally, it's about telling the rest of the world, getting the rest of the world on board, and, you know, giving the world a chance to really fight for their lives again. And I think why this movie is, I mean, this movie is so much different than all of the other ones. It's not a quote-unquote cure. It's just a way for people like himself and the soldiers to, I don't know, protect themselves. It keeps them from getting bitten, at least. You know what I'm saying? And they can go out and they can fight and kill all of those zombies. But the world is messed up. You know, whole cities and countries and places are in ruin. And we have no idea what the political backlash will be. We have no idea. Like, the president died. It's just like everything is messed up right now, but they have a chance to fight back. There's a chance to kill to kill all of them and avoid getting bitten yourself. So it's kind of like, well, how does it all really work? How does it all end? But it ends on hope. In most of these zombie movies, or I guess most of the stuff I know about it is just that, like, it's an ongoing cycle. It's never over. But for this one, it's like there's hope. We're going to fight them and we're going to win. And we have a way to fight back and to avoid getting killed like they do. You know what I'm saying? They won't attack us anymore. Or we have a way to for ourselves to be protected so we can fight them back. And we have a cure for it, so we'll be okay. And you know what I'm saying? I kind of wish that they did like an aftermath of the movie, or some sort of a, what's it called? Like some sort of I don't want to say documentary, but they do like some sort of like this is what happened to the world after World War Z. You know what I'm saying? Or post World War Z. This is what happened next. You know, this many people of the population died or lived, or they kind of break it all down. But I guess that kind of stuff is too technical and it's too crazy. I mean, more than zombies, but like I just feel like it'd be a lot more. It just wouldn't be as exciting. So I also thought to myself, I was thinking, like, how come Brad Pitt's the one going out there? They don't really specify his job. He was supposed to just, like, protect the doctor. As soon as he died, is like, you know what I mean? That should have been it. But they keep on going from place to place. And there's nobody else who thought of this idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nobody else who put it together. I don't know. I guess because the world's in chaos. I don't know how many days it has really been. I guess it took hours for everything to kind of go down. Let's just say the story takes place around... Well, the first day happens, and then the overnight the next day, and then it takes another day to get to Korea, and then the day at Israel, and then the flight to the WHO, and then everything kind of got resolved that night. So it's about 4 or 5 days, maybe, something like that, like in a week. I don't know. All I'm trying to say is that, can I see this being a realistic option? Yes. I think this is actually a pretty good idea to avoid the zombies, quote unquote, because it makes total sense that the zombies would want healthy specimens to bite or to eat or to spread their disease or their virus to, as opposed to already ones that are sick. It's like, you know, who wants some of that? Nobody. So I like the concept. I just feel like I feel like they could have done it more of like a team group. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel kind of like it should have been like a military team instead of just like Brad Pitt with like a bunch of whatevers, you know what I mean? A bunch of military circle around him, so to speak. Does that make sense? I don't know. And then I also feel like the wife could have been involved more. Instead, she's just like this crying, like, "Where are you? I tried to call you." And he's just like, yeah, I know. You know what I mean? I would have liked that a lot more. Or how about the girls are a little bit older? You know what I'm saying? And they come out onto the field with him, right? That's really empowering. That's strong. But, you know, obviously they're kids, so they keep it away. Other than that, I think this is a very solid zombie movie. It's probably up there with, well, there are some good zombie movies, but I think this one's up there. I think this one's definitely up there. I'm thinking of like I Am Legend, where it's like there's zombies, but they're kind of like mutated weird things. You know what I'm saying? And then they have what's the name of that movie? 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later. I think that's zombies. Or maybe it's just like an illness. I can't recall right now, but those movies are good as well. And I think this one kind of matches up to it, but I'm trying to put it together. Is it? Yeah, I think it's up there with those. Anyways, long story short, when you're watching World War Z, think to yourself, oh, you know what they could do? I just thought of this, okay? Think about, they should do it from like somebody else's perspective, where it's like they don't get their family helicoptered out. They don't get a chance to find the cure, right? They're just on the ground fighting for survival. That would be crazier. It's just like, instead of World War Z following him going to Korea and then Israel and then to the WHO, it just follows a week of somebody's life just living to survive and protect his family. Or somebody who loses their entire family. Like, you see like this ragtag team of people come together and they have to like fight for survival. And I'm not saying in the process they figure it out. I'm just saying that like they just have to hold out until Brad Pitt figures it out. You know what I'm saying? So that would be the timeline, I guess, you could use, right? You start with when Brad Pitt, the first night, right? Then you go to when Brad Pitt gets to the Navy ship or whatever. And then you go to when he goes to Korea, then when he goes to Israel, and then when he finally makes it to the WHO, and then once the thing gets pushed all around and people can actually like take the disease. You get what I'm saying? So we see another aspect of it, which is like they're not Brad Pitt, essentially. That would be cool. That would be a great follow-up film. But you know, hey, that's just me. And it's also been like 10 plus years and they're not really doing anything with World War Z anymore. So, long story short, when you're watching World War Z, I guess kind of think to yourself, like, what would you do in this situation? I think to myself, like, I would hide away and hunker down and try not to get found out. But if you're like in a big city, like New York City, there's almost nowhere you can go where it's like sanctuary. Just because of the overwhelming numbers against you. So hopefully, if like an outbreak does happen, you're like in a more rural area. So that way you have like, I guess, more places to hide, or you have more, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not as easy to kill you because the population's a lot smaller than, say, New York or Los Angeles or whatever. So I feel like when you're watching World War Z, how many people would it take to like, I know there's definitely like a plan in place. There should be at least, but figure out for yourselves, like, think while you're watching it, just like, how would I make it out of Korea? You know what I mean? Obviously you have the team there, but how else would I go to Israel or this place or that place, right? Just kind of put yourself in the scenario and think to yourself like, man, that is nuts. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.